We run into trouble when we ask, well, what job should I do? It's not a job. It's not really an action. It's who you are. Like you said earlier, it's something that we naturally do every day. Like our conversations are about that. Mostly people have superpowers that are about what we bring to life, not what job we do. It's what we bring to whatever job we have.
Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. I am your host, Bolaabimbola, Frequency Alchemist. This is the show where we interview guests, authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs from the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership, sharing their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest, Mary Beth Robinson, all the way from the United States. Welcome to the show, Mary Beth.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'll read Mary Beth's bio before we start. Mary Beth, for the last 20 years, has been working with people across the globe to discover their superpowers. Mary uses her intuitive ability to help people deeply understand where their true genius and power reside. That is wonderful. So tell us, Mary Beth, what is a superpower?
First of all, that's a great question. That's a word that is now kind of bandied about, and people are interested in what they're really good at. But we can think, oh, if I'm good at it, it's my superpower. But for me, I believe that our superpower is specifically, it's something that we're naturally really good at it. It comes easily for us. And it's a joy. We would love to use it every day. And it works for a higher good for ourselves and others. So there's a superpower, and then there's a tool. Like for me, my superpower is being able to understand other people's superpower and the ability to explain it to people in a way they can understand. And if that's all I did for the rest of my life, that would be a great life. Like, I would love that. It's expansive, it's creative, it's interesting. Now, I'm also a great organizer, but that's not my superpower. It's a tool. So a superpower is something very specific, but it's not a job and it's not a tool. It is something that we bring to everything that we do. So for me, I love getting to the heart of who people are. So my conversations, the way I schedule my life, the way I relate to people is always about automatically. This is not something I try to do, but it's automatically about, hey, you're so great and you're amazing at these things. How can I encourage you to do those things and to let you know that I see something that's so special in you? So it's something that we do all the time without even noticing.
I love that because there's something about it being natural. It's something that is almost innate, and it's something we do without thinking. And it's sometimes something we do that others see in us, but we do not see in our own self.
Right.
I love that. Thank you for that definition. Did you want to add to it?
You know what? I was just going to say, if you don't mind, like what I'm getting, because I'm always kind of tuning in.
Yes.
And when I tune in, I specifically don't ask for personal information, like anything that would be private, but like, wow, what does your higher self look like? Like, what is that? And so for you specifically, you are, the way I see your superpower is You know those old locks that, they have four numbers that you put in a row? And then when you have the four numbers, it just kind of the lock slides out and unlocks. So is and this helps, if you don't mind, if I talk about how your brain works and how you put things together. But I want to do this so that people understand you can take somebody who is, let's say, an incredible listener. And when that person listens to you, you automatically start saying your truth. That's a superpower. So for you, I love the way you kind of unlock people. Like you put together the steps of it. Like you're like, oh, this is part and this is part. And you can feel things kind of coming together with people. And you're like, what if we tweak this? Oh, okay, there we go. And you're always wanting to get to that place of freedom with people. Like you can pick out, this is where you're stuck.
That's beautiful. Honestly, that's the work I do. I'm a quantum Reiki practitioner. It's really about helping my clients to understand what parts of them are naturally enjoyable and what parts of them are in resistance and wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. So it's about unlocking for freedom. That's also what's in my book, Daily Soul Bytes. Daily Soul Bytes is now available anywhere books are sold, and it's really about the different perspectives that we have within us and enabling us to see those different perspectives and allow. How did you come to this place where you are now really discovering, helping others around you through your intuition, through your own guidance, to identify or to recognize, to discover, to own their superpowers? How did this happen? Did you come from a place where you were not recognizing your superpowers, or you did not feel that they were heard? How did you come to this place where you're now really magnificent at this?
First of all, thank you about that. And second is it's been a journey. Like it is 2025. I'm 55 years old. And so from a very young age, I could tune in with people and I would know like what they were just generally like. And fortunately, I had a grandmother who really encouraged me. But I grew up in a pretty conservative place. And so that wasn't necessarily encouraged. However, family wise and my parents' friends, they were really encouraging. So I would say it's been a lifetime. It's been the journey of a lifetime to get there. And I would say giving myself freedom and trusting myself to say, no, this is really me, and I'm gonna commit to doing this. So the spiritual, the intuitive aspect was always there. I just had a lot of work to do over many, many years, raising a child mostly by myself and working and putting all the pieces together. It's funny because people say, well, if you can do that, that just must be super easy. Well, it's not. I mean, we all have our journeys, because I think I always want to use this ethically and for people's highest good. It's not about like, oh, look what I can do. Look how special it is. It's much more, how can I help people and be of service? And I think the hardest part is, how do I live my life like this? Do I just subscribe to the Nike motto of just do it and push myself? Or do I tune in with what's inspiring to me and trust that that inspiration will pull me forth? Instead of pushing, it will pull me forth, and in the most magical, amazing way. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes. No, I totally hear you. It is a journey. And that journey is inspired by, I believe, lifetimes of certain kinds of experiences. And then we decide that this is the lifetime where I'm going to have freedom to express unconditional love.
Mhm.
I'm going to have the freedom that I need to really step into a new way of being. And so I love that. So it's not about superpower, may sound like something that's egotistical, but it's not. I love the way you connect it to a much deeper place. It's more like a live theme, something that is very intrinsic. So I would love to know, give us some examples of what a superpower is. And the second thing, the part two of that question is somebody who is, watching this or listening to this, what are the kind of steps you would, I mean, I know they'll probably go deeper when they come to you, but just on their own at home or wherever they are, what are the kind of one, two, three things that you would advise for them to really begin to become more aware? This is about self-awareness,
Yeah.
more aware of those intrinsic natural themes that they have. So one is examples of superpowers, and two, what are the kinds of steps that somebody who's watching or listening to this can really begin to tune into their own superpower.
Okay. Um, people's superpowers do seem quite benign, like, oh, okay. Again, it could be someone who listens profoundly. It could be somebody, I have one of my clients, she is all about freedom and she goes about life in such a wonderful way, having worked with this superpower. She not only having freedom for herself, but helping others find their freedom. So she decided she was going to be a coach and work with people. And she talks about freedom with food, but it's all about freedom. Another client of mine, she happens to be a realtor. What she does is she makes people feel at home, like cared for, taken care of. And when she really put that into real estate, she has referrals. People love her because she's never trying to sell a home. She is trying to find or sell a house. She's trying to get them into a place where they feel at home. So every single thing that she does is about that. And her, just as a story, her real estate business just boomed after she realized, hi, I'm just here to help you and I love you. And let's see what wonderful miracle that we can find for you in the form of this home that's going to envelop you and your family. So, but none of those sound that exciting. They are when you see them in action. Now I have never worked with Oprah Winfrey. I don't know her, but I was watching one of her very last episodes, and Iyanla Van Zant was her guest. And for those who don't know Iyanla, Oprah would have Iyanla on the show, and Oprah would go sit in the audience and watch her do her work with people. And something happened in their relationship, and she decided she was going to go work with Barbara Walters. And Oprah did not know what had happened. And so there was a rift between the two. So in this last show, in one of her very last shows of her usual, the Oprah Winfrey show, Iyanla was on, and they obviously had a rift and had some issues. And Oprah just kept asking her questions. Like, but I believed in you so much. I literally gave you my show, and then you go off with somebody else and I don't know what is happening. And she kept asking and asking these questions. And Iyanla finally said, Oprah, I couldn't receive it. I couldn't receive it from you. And then, like a lightning bolt, I knew that Oprah's superpower is digging for the truth and sharing it with the world. And that's what she does. That's what she's always done. And in that moment, with that understanding, she and Ianla totally repaired their relationship because she understood what had happened. That's an example of a superpower. And she's always been doing it. Like, read this book, learn about this person, let's shine a light where there hasn't been a light shined before. All those things are totally her. And that's what drives her. She wants to know. She wants to get at, the fourth level down, just let's get deeper and deeper and deeper. So those are some examples of superpowers. And you can make a difference in your family and friends. Maybe it's in your neighborhood. Maybe you write a book and it's worldwide. Who knows? But it doesn't so much matter as long as you're tuned into your superpower. So that takes me to the second question, which is, how do you know what your superpower is? Okay. So first of all, your superpower is something that you absolutely love to do. And if somebody took away this part of you, you would cease to be you. What I tell people to do who are not working with me is to make a list of things that they're automatically great at. For me, I'm great in a crisis. I am good with people. Like I intuitively understand how to speak with each individual that I meet. Lots of stuff. I'm a great organizer. I make lists in my head and I can juggle them around and be like, oh, we had this last minute change. Then I'm going to do all this and it's going to fall into place. But if you took away any of those things, I'd still be me. But if you took away my ability to connect with people and know how great they are, I wouldn't be me anymore. Does that make sense?
Hmm. I love that. Now it is sounding more like a soul superpower. I think putting the word soul in front of it really puts it into perspective. It's more than just the roles or the actions or the experiences. It's really about the soul truth. It's really about what is coming from the heart, what is so what is so intuitive even before we came into this lifetime. It sounds something that is running through the very core of one's being. What would you say to that?
I completely agree. I think that's a beautiful way of saying it. It's in a very abstract way. And this will resonate with some people and it won't resonate with others. That's okay if it doesn't resonate with everyone, but it's your frequency. Like everyone has a certain frequency. In fact, that's how I tune into people. I just get their frequency and it's kind of like a dish, like a satellite dish. I kind of like, there it is. Okay, now I can watch, now I see things about that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their frequency. It's what they were born with. It's who they are in their essence. And I think we run into trouble when we ask, well, what job should I do? It's not a job. It's not really an action. It's who you are. Like you said earlier, it's something that we naturally do every day. Like our conversations are about that. Mostly people have superpowers that are about what we bring to life, not what job we do. It's what we bring to whatever job we have. And if that's impossible to do in a job, it's time to find another job. Right now, people are wondering, gosh, is this the job for me? I have a great friend of mine who was a nun. What she brings is mindfulness wherever she goes. And she did that as a nun. She did that at Microsoft, and she will continue to do that, being a nun and working at Microsoft. That's very, very different things. But it was all about being mindful and connecting with people and having that moment be the most pristine moment each moment. So for me, I have to be expansive and I have to be creative. And I had a job, a long-standing job that didn't allow for that. So that job had to go because I had to realize if I can't do, and it's not like I was going to, point out everyone's superpower, but part of my superpower is like, let's delve in and let's do some great things.
I can definitely, resonate with that because there are different parts of us. You see, I believe my work is around the internal family systems, really understanding the different parts of us and how each part of us has a particular role to play, and we almost have to switch codes. And each part of us has a different frequency. That frequency of vibration of consciousness. This is about consciousness, and each consciousness has a purpose. And I love the word superpower. Each part of us will have a superpower, and honestly, there's something about coming into this 3D human existence and finding that very little around us complements us. It can be very combative. It can be very antagonistic, very resistant. So there is not always that environment that allows us to understand one, the parts of us that are all okay to exist as they are. There is no need to dismiss or judge any part of who we are because we can come to see the value that each one plays in life. This is the ego consciousness. The ego consciousness is real. Yes, it's an illusion, but the experience of each part is very real. So I want you to tell us, Mary Beth, when you're a person working with all those different parts of you, how do you recognize that superpower? Because there is nothing outside of us sometimes that points us to it. And yes, we can naturally come to understand what we're good at, but do we give ourselves the permission to actually own it, accept it, and enjoy it? How do people who come to work with you come to understand the different parts of themselves, the different superpowers? Because I don't know if we can have one superpower, or maybe it's one superpower that is now showing up in each of those parts. But how do you break that down when you have clients working with you to let go of the resistance and allow each part of them to really shine? How does it work when they come to work with you?
First of all, that is an excellent question because I feel like when I work with somebody, and the first thing we do is look at what is their superpower, but there's so much more after that. That's why I usually don't like to work with somebody just one time because it's just the very beginning. And I like over time to say, okay, what does this actually mean in your life? Instead of, oh, I got a great realization. That's neat. Now I really don't know what to do with it. I don't want it ever to be like that. So I help people find out what their superpower is. And again, I would use, writing a list of everything that you are, everything that you're naturally good at, cross out the things that you're like, yeah, but would I want to do that every day? Is that something that's like, wakes me up in the morning? Organization does not wake me up in the morning. I'm good at it, but it's not my superpower. It's not my reason for living. For some people, it is, and that's wonderful. It's just not mine. So once you have an idea of like, okay, here's a basic idea, then this is where it gets really interesting. And it goes back to the push and pull. Instead of saying, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to get here and I've got to push myself, there will be things that come into our minds that we're like, oh, that would be so great to do. Like, oh, and it's just like, oh, that's a great idea. That's your inspiration. And that is, I think, your like divine self saying, take this road, go down this way. So I remember in a certain pivotal point of my life where I had worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and all this stuff was finally coming together. And then everything that I was doing wasn't working. And I realized I was overeating. I was wasting a lot of time. And I thought, wow, these are just, I'm not comfortable. I'm not using my natural energy. Because at that point, I was really not inspired by anything. I just was like, gosh, I'm just tired. And I just keep going and going. And there's got to be something better. And we all get to that place sometimes. It's kind of, I think, where we get before we make another leap up. So I was at that point. And then, so I started cleaning up my house. And not surprisingly, here's what happens when you clean up your external environment or your internal environment. The other one has to come up too. So if we start clearing things out on the inside, then we're like, oh man, I got to clean up my house, and then, oh, I want to clean up my relationships. Oh, okay, I want to clean up my communication. So, and each of those tiny little steps was incredible. And I was so much more inspired the more I did it. I like that idea. It's kind of counterintuitive because everyone says, well, you've got to know exactly where you're going. And then you take steps and you write down all the different things. I think that has its place, but as a way to live and express who you truly are, I would say follow the inspiration. Now, where people get in trouble is follow the emotion. Emotions aren't necessarily great to follow because the nature of emotions is they change. Like for me, inspiration is different than emotions. In that moment, when I thought, I just love to transform my house, like set it up differently, clear out the clutter, just kind of have it have a finished kind of feel. I'm like, I would love that. And then I went through all sorts of ups and downs, but I knew that that was still my inspiration and I was still excited about it, even though sometimes it was very confronting because I had to look at, boy, how do I communicate with people? How do I respond to them? Am I clear? Like, what do I keep? What am I really ready to let go of? What's important to me? What's not? But through the whole thing, it wasn't, oh, I just want to do what feels good. It was, I'm following this inspiration. I love this. I love this street to go down. And that was so expansive to me. So I would say, get closer to your essence, but then pay attention to those moments of inspiration you have. And trust that, because it may seem like that's a huge detour, but really what it usually is a shortcut to more self-expression. It's not linear. It's not like we're just going to go up and up and up and up and up. It's more like, oh, you're here. Inspiration acts as as a tesseract is a bend in time. So it's like you take time and then you kind of shortcut it like that. I think that's what inspiration does. And it's just magical. And it's all about giving ourselves permission to follow that inspiration. We look at life like I've got to push it and I've got to get these things done. But going by our inspiration is really, that's our navigator.
I loved all that you said. Thank you so much about, how that path is not linear. And it's really about following that passion, that thing that we love to do, that thing that when we do it, time flies by, that thing that feels easy. There's so many things that we do in our day to day that doesn't really give us that lift within us. And sometimes we have lost touch with that part of ourselves. I work with those who are really wanting to understand parts of self that are now lost. And it takes time and it takes self-care, because this acknowledging the superpower requires us to pause, to slow down, to observe, to reflect, to become aware of parts of us that we may have lost touch with. And so I really wanted to emphasize that there are some of us who really do not cannot connect with that passion at times, and because life is about ups and downs, and nobody gets to that place where there's no more growth to do. It's not linear, it's cyclical, and it's really about knowing what to do anytime we're in that dark place, knowing what to do anytime that emotion comes up. I'm not one to say ignore the emotions or do or set it aside, but I do not believe in allowing it to be somewhere we sit. I believe in it being something that we acknowledge and we take the meaning from it and we use it to change our experience. Because at the end of the day, the core of our being is peace. And if we're not having peace, then we know that there's something we need to shift. Consciousness needs to shift. And having these tools, tools, understanding a superpower, understanding what part of us is feeling passionate, what part of us is enjoying life. Those things are important for us to hold on to. So I totally get that as to how there are different things that are happening, but it's about how we slow down, how we pause, and how we come to see different parts of ourselves, having passion, craving different things without judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's about what am I feeling really good at? What am I feeling happiest and joyful to do? And as Mary Beth has said, it is really something that is unique to us. It's not something we can look at somebody else doing and say, oh, that's my superpower. It's going to come from our soul. But I wanted to ask you, Mary Beth, are there any last words that you have for us today? Yeah. This issue of superpower and giving ourselves permission to really live our best lives.
I think what you have said is absolutely brilliant. And it reminds me that, and you and I, when we were first saying hello, before the show, we were talking about how many different phases of life that we have. And it's easy to define a superpower like it's this, and it's static, and this is the way it is, and this is how I express it. That's not how it goes. Like, in a job, I may not be working with somebody specifically on their superpower, but I may be helping the company and my group expand on something and work and use our best abilities, each of us using our best abilities. That's in my wheelhouse too. It's just a different expression. And for me, as someone who sees people's superpower, it seemed a little weird to be like, clean everything out. I mean, everything. But it totally works, because in my life, I'm like, there are things that are just dragging me down. Okay. And there are things that are not allowing me to be as powerful with others and to fully love love others. Let's look at that. So your superpower expression, I think it's always kind of constant, but the expression changes a lot depending upon if we have small children, if we're retired, if we're in high school, if we're, whatever that is, it is going to change. And that's why I like the idea of what's inspiring to me, like what's really truly inspiring for me right now. Because in 6 months, it may be like, it could be something else, but that doesn't mean I'm flighty. That just means it's expanding. I'm expanding and I'm shifting the way I do things a little bit. So, and it is accessing, like you said, a different part of us. I mean, martial arts, our relationships, hobbies, art, work, raising children, having grandchildren, being a great niece or nephew, being a great aunt or uncle, all those, whatever that is, whatever relationship that is, being a part of a community, it changes. It changes in our lifetime. And I think that's why it's so great to look at what's inspiring to me right now. And let me really delve into it because that's where the magic is. I may not understand why this is a big deal right now to, let's say, plant a garden, or take martial arts, but it is, and I'm going to trust that.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. And where can people find you when they want to connect with you?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I said this has been such a wonderful conversation. So I'm sure lots of people want to connect with you. Where can they find you?
The best way, I'm on some social media, but that will show up on my website. But it is Superpower Inc. So superpowerinc.org. And you can also put Superpower Inc. and then Mary Beth, and you'll get to that also. Superpowerinc.com is a power station in New Jersey in the United States. And that's not me. That's just a power company. So that's how to find me. But I'll have all my social media links there. And you can also contact me and see how I work. And I try to keep things really affordable. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm always putting out content.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Mary Beth.
It's been a pleasure. And thank you for the incredibly insightful questions you have asked, because that is not common. I find when people ask questions, like people ask great questions, but yours are like, let's really get down into just like what you would normally do. You're like, that's nice, but let's get a lot deeper. So you're always using your superpower as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for the insights that you've shared with me as well. They really resonate. I appreciate you. And thank you for the work you do. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. And I do want to thank, yes, and I do want to thank our listeners and the audience and to remind you to grab your copy of Daily Soul Bites. But yes, Daily Soul Bites talks about the different perspectives that we have within ourselves. We have a diversity of perspectives. Some are positive, some are negative, and a lot of them are also neutral. And it's about really coming to that place where we can see these perspectives and know which ones we want to align to. Because whatever we align to is what is going to expand. This is what we have come to understand, that we are creating that reality, and we can come to understand ourselves a lot more. And the superpowers, the soul superpowers that Mary Beth has discussed today are tools to help us to understand self, accept self. Because it is only from that place that we can really come to enjoy the lives that we have come to live. So I do want to thank you for watching Daily Soul Bites today. Encourage you to check out Mary Beth on her website, and we're going to post all the links. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes Show. Bye-bye.